What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Hey guys, it's the 18th of November, 2019. I am Justin, and as always, I'm joined by Perry.
Justin, did it hurt when you fell from the vending machine?
Sure.
Okay. You look like such a snack. And I was like,
Thank you. Thank you. I was gonna ask you, Perry. It's ironic you're wearing that Camp Vibes hat. Because you remind me of a campfire because you're so hot.
Oh,
and you
man.
leave me wanting s'more.
Don't you start this now. I don't want to blush on the podcast, Justin.
You guys could catch our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, everywhere where you watch or listen to podcasts.
Yeah, you can.
And make sure you subscribe on YouTube. It helps us out. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And you get to listen to Justin say YouTube like that all the time.
It sounds like the professor from Futurama. YouTube.
Good news, everyone.
But yeah, also we're still giving away a autographed DeAndre Hopkins jersey. That'll be next week. So all you have to do to be entered to win is leave a comment.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. I have faith you guys can do that.
A couple more weeks available for you to get that done. So make sure you leave a comment. What do we want this episode? More beer. I want more beer. There weren't enough beer suggestions.
Yeah, we only got like 3 or 4 beer suggestions. Keep them coming.
I gotta give a shout out to Brady S, who left a comment, keeping it Seattle local with a Pike Place kilt lifter. I love the kilt lifter. I've had it on the show multiple times, so shout out to you.
Yeah, and Nolan with Irish Death, my personal favorite.
Oof, sounds rough. Tonight I'm having a Dogfish Head Sea Quench Ale. It's a lime and sea salt sour.
I'm having a water.
Nice.
It's iced.
Fancy.
Yeah. What's new over there, Perry? What you got going on?
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Nothing's new.
That's exciting.
Really nothing's new. We're just waiting to move. We're getting kind of packed up here, figuring out we're gonna store here, what we're gonna take with us when we move back, move in with producer Sean. So we're looking forward to that. Just moving along here. My wife has her first day of work coming up December 3rd. Otherwise, I've just been playing video games and watching sports, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
You catch that second episode of The Mandalorian, by the way?
Just watched it today.
Nice.
It was good. It was very good.
I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but you guys need to get on it because I'm gonna start ruining it here pretty soon. So, man, I went to Eastern Washington this last weekend, and I went to a local brewery there and watched football there. So that was a lot of fun. Got to have, I think I tried all of their beers.
Oh, and you actually got to see the 49ers win this week, too.
Oh, my God. I was my nerves, that whole game just up and down. It was a tragedy, but they won, so, and did well.
Here's how the Bronco game went for me. And then this happened. This was the point where it wasn't happy, and then they lost. So that's how the Bronco game went. That's okay. You know what? I want them to lose every game from now on because we need the draft pick here.
Right. Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so this today we're gonna go over some waiver wire picks, and we're gonna go over like studs and duds from this last week, and the waiver wires will kind of go along with that after we go through studs and duds.
Yeah.
Some of them won't, because some of these guys you just shouldn't have on your team, and they came out of nowhere and they're going to disappear. So,
absolutely, that is absolutely true.
And we did the Run Boys show last week. That was fun. I really liked that.
That was a lot of fun. It was fun seeing people hop in the channel and say hi to us. I know a few of them you sent them there, Justin, but I mean, it was cool. It was cool being on a different platform as Clock Management. So I look forward to doing that more.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get us into some news, Perry?
Oh boy, do I. So we'll talk about Tyreek Hill real quick. If you didn't watch the game that literally just ended about 25 minutes ago, Tyreek Hill did leave the game with a hamstring injury. We obviously don't have any real information as this happened just an hour or two ago. He looked fine on the sideline. He never came back. What do you think? Do you think he's going to be back next week?
I mean, like you said, we don't have a lot of information. If I were to guess, though, I would say yeah. He came back to the sideline. He didn't look in pain or anything. I think it's just a precautionary. You don't want to push him back out there and have him re-injure it immediately. Give him that break.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. They probably thought they didn't need him to win that game. All they needed was Phillip Rivers. So
he stayed in, so it worked out.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers stayed in, so the Chiefs could win. 4 interceptions. Way to go, Phillip Rivers.
Very generous of him.
We talked last episode about James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster both leaving the game Thursday night. Real quick, James Conner, his status for Week 12 is still up in the air. We don't know if he's going to make it into the game or not. It isn't any worse than it's been, but it also hasn't gotten any better. So I imagine that he probably misses this week. I would prepare yourself for that. Jalen Samuel is the guy I would put in if I had to try and fill that hole that James Conner is leaving on my roster. But I kind of expect him probably like mid-pack RB2. I don't think Jalen Samuels is an RB1.
Yeah, and that offense isn't an RB1 producing offense.
It really isn't. Even with James Conner there, it's been kind of hit or miss. So Juju Smith-Schuster, same team, same side of the ball, same deal. Unsure if he's going to be ready for Week 12 with a knee injury. He has
and the concussion as well.
And the concussion, exactly. It's just been a really frustrating season for Juju. It's frustrating as a Juju owner in a couple leagues. So I don't know if he'll be back. We've talked about concussions before, like with Brandon Cooks, who I'll talk about in just a moment. You just don't know. He could miss 1 week. He could miss 3 weeks. So just be prepared for that to happen. We'll talk about Brandon Cooks now. With the concussion, he is expected to return Week 12. So sooner than I was kind of saying he might be back. But again, with the concussions, there's no like real timetable. There's no XYZ needs to happen and then he's healed. It's just based on if the symptoms go away. So if he does come back, I think I actually think it might help out Cooper Kupp. Since Brandon Cooks has been out, Cooper Kupp has not been doing well. We're going to talk about him a little later. We can talk about that some more then. But I think it probably hurts Robert Woods just a little bit. Brandon Cooks, probably low end. His low end floor is probably wide receiver, high end wide receiver 3. His ceiling is probably wide receiver 2. So that's how I feel about Brandon Cooks. Marlon Mack had surgery on a broken hand today, Monday. And he will obviously not be playing this Thursday night. He's probably going to miss a few weeks. It sounds like he might be back for like fantasy playoffs or the end of the fantasy playoffs. Would you be comfortable putting him in when he comes back?
I mean, if I absolutely had to, yeah, but I want to feel comfortable with it now.
Yeah, I always feel weird about like putting players in right out of injury, especially in a game that really matters, like the fantasy playoffs. So
exactly,
I guess we'll just have to monitor that. As for a handcuff for him, do you have anybody in mind? Naheem Hines, maybe?
I don't know if I mean that I also wouldn't want to go into the fantasy playoffs with having to play Naheem Hines either.
That's true. Yeah.
So I mean, again, if you're desperate, yeah, you could put him in there to fill that gap.
Yeah.
But I think there's better options out there that you could get and play in like until he comes back and you can see he's ready.
Jonathan Williams is what a lot of people are saying is the handcuff, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in Jonathan Williams. I think, if you absolutely had to, sure. If you don't want to go the Naheem Hines route, okay, Jonathan Williams, but I'm not too hyped on him. He's not the top of my waiver priority this week.
No, and I do think I would put Williams in over Hines, just because I think he'll get more red zone carries, and I'm hoping for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. More Colts news. T.Y. Hilton did not participate in practice today. It's that lingering quad injury that he's been dealing with for a little while here. Basically, if he does not practice tomorrow or Wednesday, definitely, he's not playing Thursday. But tomorrow's a big day for me. I think that if he can get out at least in a limited fashion tomorrow and then practice fully Wednesday, I'm going to go ahead and light him up and play him if he's there against the Texans. But if he misses tomorrow, be ready. He's probably not playing on Thursday. Matt Stafford, who did miss 2 weeks in a row now with a back injury, I'm getting a lot of conflicting information on this. I'm seeing that he's day to day or week to week, I guess is what people are saying. But it could end up costing him 6 weeks in total. So, I mean, this hurts everybody on the Lions, flat out. All wide receivers, hurts them. I don't like Jeff Driscoll to carry two number one receivers or two number two receivers or a 1 and a 2 in Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. So I think Kenny Golladay is still the guy to start. I would try and lean away from Marvin Jones if you can. But yeah, I hope Matthew Stafford comes back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Jones, you can't feel good starting him without Stafford in.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, right? It's football. He could bust a 40-yard touchdown, but you got to play. The likelihood of that happening is pretty low. So, and last piece of news I had here was with Amari Cooper. The reason I bring up Amari is he played 41 of 74 snaps this week. He wasn't out there for every play. Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb are doing very well in Amari Cooper's absence when he isn't on the field, but he's still dealing with this pain in his knee. I just think you should monitor it. If they are winning games without him, they're going to keep resting him more and more each game. They need him for the playoffs. So, I would just be prepared for Amari Cooper to maybe miss time if that comes to it. And to be clear, if he does miss time, I like Michael Gallup a lot. He's probably owned. If he's not, I would go get him, especially if you're the Amari Cooper owner, because you could lose him at any moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially with how Dak's been playing. He's been great too. So
Dak's, I mean, MVP candidate. We can talk about that for a second if you want. I know Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson's up there in the MVP, Russell Wilson, and I think Dak can't be forgotten.
Well, and Michael Thomas.
Yeah, according to Booger McFarland, Michael Thomas is an MVP candidate. Like, when are they going to get that guy out from behind the booth? He does not need to be in there.
And he didn't even bring up McCaffrey.
I know.
If you're going to bring up someone who's not a quarterback, the answer is McCaffrey.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could even make a case for Dalvin Cook over Michael Thomas, in my opinion. So Booger McFarland is a very cool dude.
God, that guy.
I swear.
Man, what a boomer, Perry.
Yeah, what a boomer. Okay, Boomer McFarland.
Got him.
That's terrible. That was one of my worst. I'm tired tonight, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's gonna stick now. Oh, God.
You got some news we don't care about other than Boomer McFarland?
Yeah, I do. So first, before I get into the news no one cares about, I got news that you should care about. Richard Sherman donated $5,000 to a Compton Little League football team that couldn't afford to go to the Little League championship.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool of him.
Good guy, Richard Sherman.
Right? For as much as like I don't like how he plays football and talks so much, he does cool stuff like that all the time. So he actually is a good guy, despite his attitude on field.
You know he's not a Seahawk anymore, right?
Oh, I know. He's an amazing player, but I've never liked his attitude.
Okay. Just making sure you knew that.
Yeah, that has never changed. From my opinion about that has never changed on either of those subjects. But news no one cares about. All right, so we got Haskins on the sideline. Comes over. Did you see this? He came over to his offensive line, and he is like, "What do I have to do?"
Yeah.
And he's like yelling at them, "What do I have to do for you?"
Yeah.
And they just look completely uninterested in the conversation.
It looked like he was yelling at corpses.
Yeah. They're like, "Get out of here. We're going to lose. Just accept it."
Yeah. Yeah, it's ugly there, man. But hey, they got a good culture there, that team up there in Washington. They got a good culture.
Yeah, it's just not theirs. Anthony Miller, he got tackled during a play, came up probably a yard and a half short of a first down.
And
then he did a little army crawl and reached forward to set the ball.
Counts.
Yeah. He's like, come on, give it to me. Yeah, that was hilarious. But and then Mark Ingram, did you see his after the game interview?
I did.
Yeah, he said if you don't think that Lamar Jackson is the MVP, come see him.
Yeah. Yeah. Looked like he was gonna Myles Garrett somebody if they said that he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, even if I didn't think that Jackson was going to be the MVP, I'm not going to go see him. I'm just going to be like, okay, I guess you're the MVP now.
Yeah. I'm not going to go see you, Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
That sounds terrifying. Also, I still think Russell Wilson might be the MVP.
I'm telling Mark Ingram you said that. Next time I see him.
I'm calling your bluff.
Via Twitter. Zeke scored a touchdown and then immediately went into the Dak dance.
I saw the Dak dance.
Yeah, I was just disappointed. He should have rehearsed it, got some pointers from Dak before doing it. It just didn't. He didn't have the fluid motion.
Well, I think he needs to work on his lower back mobility is what he needs to do.
Yeah, I think Dak's right there to help him with that.
I think we found the reason why Zeke hasn't been having that great of a season. It's that lower back mobility. He needs to be stretching that out, get those hips moving.
And then the team in Washington, after their loss, the whole crowd started chanting, "Sell the team."
That's rough. When your fans are like, "Leave."
Yeah.
No, we don't. Like most cities are like start like petitioning for teams to stay. Yeah. These guys are like, "We don't want you here."
So it looks like we found Mexico City's new team.
Yeah.
Wonder if they'll keep the same name.
Oh God, I hope not.
And then the last piece of news no one cares about, and my personal favorite, the Colts scored a touchdown, and then they did a keg stand celebration.
I saw that.
One player was the keg. One player did the keg stand while two offensive linemen held his legs up, and one person pumped the keg while a crowd cheered him on.
It was like looking at us like 7 or 8 years ago. It was like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna feel that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the news no one cares about. Nice. I actually got someone who reached out to me to ask me if I was going to cover the news or the keg stand in the news no one cares about.
Well, check.
Yeah, I was like,
consider it covered.
I already had it written down in my show notes, so
consider it covered. So today we're going to talk about some news and noteworthy players' performances from the week. We'll talk about some people that did well, some people that did it poorly, and then just a few kind of hot topics around the league that we should probably be paying attention to. So let's talk about some guys that did well this week. Obviously, Lamar Jackson at quarterback did very well, but Josh Allen at quarterback having a pretty good week. They did play the Dolphins, so let's pump the brakes just a little bit on the hype. The Dolphins are terrible. But Josh Allen, I like Josh Allen, man.
I do too.
I don't know. I feel like if we like Tyrod Taylor as a fantasy asset, we have to like Josh Allen as a fantasy asset. And Tyrod Taylor was like the guy to have for everybody that waited on quarterback for like 3 straight years. And Josh Allen's better than Tyrod Taylor, or am I wrong?
No, he's a better quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, I think, is a little bit faster than him.
Sure.
But, I mean, Josh Allen is definitely still a mobile quarterback. He's able to run, pretty effectively. So he's a better quarterback as well, and that's the position he plays. So that's always a benefit.
Yeah. If you were planning on streaming a quarterback next week, I don't know if I'm going to go the Josh Allen route. He does play Denver. Denver is bad, but their defense is good. So just be prepared to have a pretty low scoring day. I don't think he'll throw a ton of interceptions or anything against Denver, but I imagine the entire game will probably be pretty low scoring. The fact that the Vikings put up 27 against Denver and Denver put up 23 against the Vikings is actually pretty surprising. So,
yeah. And then another player that I wanted to talk about from that same team, just John Brown. We've talked about him a few times on the show, just like how much we like him and how talented he is. And he's in a great position there. He's really their number 1 wide receiver, and he's been living up to that. He scored, 30 fantasy points this week. Killed it. He's Josh Allen's favorite target there, and he's feasting.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite call him boom or bust. I think the offense there is a little stagnant for John Brown to be like an automatic wide receiver 1 each week, but he is the guy there. He's very talented. He's getting the targets. As long as he scores a touchdown, like if he scores a touchdown, you're happy because he's getting the yardage and he's getting the catches. So I like John Brown.
And if he does like this week and scores 2 touchdowns.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, 14 targets this week obviously is a season high for him, but he's had double-digit targets 4 times this year, which is great. His lowest target count is 5. So, I mean, he's getting the targets. He's going to continue to get the targets. I like John Brown going forward. He's an auto start for me. I just wish the Bills were a little bit better at offense.
Yeah, and when you're talking about quarterbacks to stream to, another one who I talked about him having a good matchup, which is why I liked him. And he's had some horrible weeks in the past. But, I mean, he's got such a good matchup, and he did good this week. So I like saying it. Sam Darnold, I think, is a good start, or if you're streaming quarterbacks. He plays Oakland this coming week, too. So it's not a bad idea to throw him in there if you need a quarterback.
I didn't know who you were going to say there, but I was hoping you were going to say Sam Darnold, because I totally agree. He obviously had a wonderful matchup against that team in Washington, but Sam Darnold, I think, is going to have a good career. I really do think that. I think he's a good quarterback. Stream him if you have to stream him this coming week.
Yeah, he had he got roasted by the Patriots and put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Yeah. He's had a couple bad weeks, but he's on that team isn't that great. And but when he gets a good matchup, he does good. So yeah,
for sure. Let's move on. We kind of spoke about Lamar Jackson, but you know what? I feel like we might as well talk about him again. The guy's having an insane year. It's very reminiscent of last year with Patrick Mahomes and how incredible he was. Obviously, Lamar's doing it a little bit different way, but it's working, man. It is working.
You know, it really reminds me of Cam Newton's rookie year.
Yeah, Cam Newton or RG3, I was thinking, right? They seem very similar, which is why I've always said, like, hey, injuries are going to come if he keeps running the ball as much as he does. And I still believe that. But hey, we're talking about fantasy football right now, right? All that matters is next week and the playoffs and getting through that. Lamar Jackson is the guy. I saw a tweet, Samuel, I think, retweeted or may tweeted it. Week 3, all experts say trade Lamar Jackson. His schedule gets harder going forward. And then the reply is me, no. So funny.
That was my tweet.
Oh, is that your tweet?
Yeah, he retweeted my tweet.
Okay. I don't know, man. I just saw it from Samuel, and then it's perfect. It was good. Lamar's in it, man. He's killing it.
I obviously love him, as I tweeted that, and I thought he was going to be a good quarterback just because of his floor with the rushing. I was, I didn't predict him to have this great of a year, but I mean, I'm definitely enjoying it, and I thought he was going to be a top 5 quarterback after those first 4 weeks still, and he's definitely
going to. Yeah, as long as he doesn't get hurt, he'll probably finish as a number 1 quarterback. I am not scared of the Rams next week with Lamar Jackson. Go for it. I am a little afraid of the Niners in week 13. I'm a little bit afraid of Buffalo in week 14. Just a little bit. Nothing that I'm going to sit him or anything. But week 15 and 16, the Jets in Cleveland, he could win a championship easily in week 16 against Cleveland.
Yeah, and also the Niners defense, though, they've been struggling against the mobile quarterbacks.
Well, that's the thing with the mobile quarterbacks is even if the quarterback has he struggles, right? Even if the quarterback struggles against a defense, if he runs for 60 yards, that gives you such a good floor.
Yeah.
That it's just like he's fantasy relevant, no matter what. And his lowest yardage game here is 46 yards. Well, week 1 was 6 yards, but hey, he threw for 5 touchdowns, so who cares about that? But otherwise, he hasn't ran for less than 46 yards all season except week 1. So
yeah, and
it's insane.
We got Jimmy G threw a handful of touchdowns that game.
A whole handful? Was it a whole handful or just?
I mean,
most of a handful.
A finger. I mean, all the fingers on your hand. He left the thumb off. So, he looked good in the second half of the game. The first half, I was like, man, he's going to be a dud this game.
Yeah. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. But part of I'll get into another player later. But yeah, so. He just looked really good in that second part. I think he's one of those quarterbacks where he's matchup dependent, but in the right matchup, he could get you a good win.
He is very matchup dependent, and I do not like his next 3 matchups with Green Bay, Baltimore, and New Orleans. He is not. I don't have him on a high stream option list, and I mean his next good game will be week 15. So if you make it to week 15 in the playoffs, that's a great stream right there against Atlanta for Jimmy G. But going forward for the next 3 weeks, I'm avoiding starting Jimmy G. Could be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and not risk it.
Yeah, I'm a 49er fan, and I agree with you. So,
and then Christian McCaffrey, man, considering
how did I pass him up?
His team scored 3 points, but Christian McCaffrey is still able to put up 25 plus fantasy points this week. That's pretty incredible. This kid is, I mean, I know he's no Michael Thomas, Boomer McFarland, but he's really good, man. 14 carries for 70 yards. He had 11 receptions for 121 yards. He's the best wide receiver on his team, right? Right?
He is.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
He's the best wide receiver, the best running back, and I want to see him throw the ball. He might be the best quarterback on that team. I don't know yet.
Fun fact about Perry Penny's here. His dad was my favorite player growing up. Ed McCaffrey, wide receiver for the Broncos. I have 2 Ed McCaffrey jerseys in the closet. It's a fun fact, everyone.
Yeah, I remember your dad used to have some McCaffrey memorabilia like up in his Bronco shrine.
Oh yeah, we had a shrine. Yeah, you're not a fan unless you have it was literally called the Shrine.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mark Ingram, before telling everyone to come see him if you disagree with Lamar Jackson being MVP, also had an incredible game. So that's one where I didn't see it. You did at the beginning of the season, and I was wrong on that one. And he's having a great season.
Auto start.
Yep, easy, killed it.
Not a lot to talk about there. He's an auto start going forward. And then, of course, Michael Thomas had a great day. MVP season going on right there with Michael Thomas. So just you could sit everybody else on your team at this point.
Yeah, just start him and you win.
Yeah, apparently.
God, we need to get Booger McFarland in our fantasy football, like in our league.
Yeah. No, we don't. Let's jump forward here a little bit, Justin. Let's jump into Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
I want to talk about Calvin Ridley because I want to talk about the Falcons. I saw a tweet this week that was asking when they should trade Matt Ryan in Dynasty League. How soon should they get rid of Matt Ryan? I don't think Matt Ryan's bad. I don't think Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback. I think Matt Ryan's a very good quarterback. I think Calvin Ridley is a very good wide receiver. I think Julio Jones is a very good wide receiver. I think the Falcons, I don't know what happened this year. They were like a Super Bowl contender, and now they've won like 2 games. So they beat the wheels off the Panthers this week, 29-3. I think that people like Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan going forward, I'm gonna start them. Definitely you're starting Julio Jones, but Calvin Ridley at this point, I'm gonna keep starting him. I have faith.
Yeah, I remember I was talking about him this last week, and I was saying that I thought he was gonna have a big week this week.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, hopefully you listened to that and you started him, because I mean I was spot on that one. He killed it. Yeah, I think he's going to continue to a super talented young wide receiver in Atlanta. So I expect this, especially like Dynasty, you're loving having him.
Definitely.
I want to get into RG1. Ryan Griffin, the tight end. So not RG3, RG1. He's the first. He had a big week. Herndon actually, surprisingly, he finally Herndon back and forth. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And he's on IR. Yeah. So Ryan Griffin took over that job and permanently, I guess. Yeah, and he had a great week. It's tight end, so it's hard to say whether he's going to continue that week.
But it's tight end, so it's hard to say you have one that you should be starting every week.
Yeah, I like Rudolph personally at tight end. I picked him up this week in a league, and he found the end zone as well. I like him a little bit more than Ryan Griffin going forward, but it's tight end, so yeah, this year it's kind of a coin toss. It's hard to say.
Rudolph has been good as of late, but you're right, it's tight end. Like Rudolph has had weeks where it's 2 receptions for 14 yards, and that's Kyle Rudolph, right? And you could get that out of somebody like Ryan Griffin. You could get that somebody out of like Mark Andrews, who I've been rolling with all week. So there are very few guys, Travis Kelce, who you would literally expect big things every week. So I think I would put Ryan Griffin in the same boat as Kyle Rudolph right now for me. But yeah, let's see. Who else do we have to talk about?
I think we could just move straight into the duds at this point.
Yeah.
Man.
Stinkers.
Yeah, these dudes just they guys who you were probably depending on, and a lot of these guys that just
this first guy I was definitely depending on in my dynasty league, Deshaun Watson, 5 fantasy points. Well, when your team only scores 7 points, it's kind of to be expected. He killed me. I'm not worried about Deshaun Watson though going forward. I'm still an auto start for me. I think he worked his way out of the MVP talk with this week's performance, but I'm not worried about him going forward.
Yeah. We got another quarterback here with Tom Brady. I think that's kind of a similar thing where it's like if you have Tom Brady, you're not worried about this performance. You're going to start him next week. So
yeah,
he had a down week and just didn't put up much points. That happens every once in a while with Tom Brady.
it is what it is, man.
Yeah, especially it happens more often now than it did as he's getting older. They lean on the run a little bit more than they used to. So it's
Yeah,
going to happen.
and it was a really anemic day for the Patriots offense as a whole. They couldn't protect the offensive line, couldn't protect Tom Brady. They couldn't get the run going. I mean, the fact that they put up 17 points was kind of a miracle, to be completely honest with you. So with Tom Brady, they don't want to win on Tom Brady's arm. They want to win on his mind. They want him to go up there and control the game. They don't care if they win 17-10. They really don't care. So
yeah, and with the defense that they have, they don't need to.
Exactly. Let's talk about Brian Hill, because you and I hyped him up quite a bit going into this week, and boy, did it not work out.
Yeah, I am sorry, everybody.
Yeah, 15 carries for 30 yards, and then 1 reception for 3 yards. Did not find the end zone. Did not work out, man. And especially with all those points scored by Atlanta, it's surprising that Brian Hill wasn't able to get that ball moving. What are you doing going forward with Brian Hill? What are you doing going forward with this backfield?
I don't know if I'm doing. I think I'm finding players elsewhere to put in because it's not happening there. And then it's going to get more murky once Freeman comes back too. Especially with how Freeman's been playing. It's not like he's been an auto start this year.
Sure. I think I'm not quite I see like a lot of the theme around Brian Hill right now is that he's useless. Drop him. I don't know if I'd go that far. In fact, I'm not going to go trade for him, probably because the trade deadline's already happened. But if he gets dropped in the league and I've got a spot in my roster that he might fit, I might grab him and throw him in there and just see how it works out on my bench. I don't know if I'm starting him, but man, Brian Hill really dropped the ball this week. But just pay attention. If he falls in your waiver wires and you have an empty spot there, you're sitting there on somebody that's definitely not going to get any work, maybe Brian Hill should be sitting on your bench instead.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Amari Cooper. We already talked about him a little bit. I think everything with him is what we were talking about with this knee injury, right? They're just going to run him out there as a decoy. He's not going to be out there for every offensive snap, especially if they think they're going to make the playoffs without having to work him like crazy. But yeah, Michael Gallup is top of my list if I'm picking a wide receiver. But Randall Cobb is probably available in a lot of leagues as well and should be considered.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was looking at the stats from the Falcons game as you were talking. Brian Hill did still lead the team in carries by quite a bit. So I mean that's a positive sign. So he does have that going for him, and they are playing against the Buccaneers this week. So
yeah.
That could turn into some fantasy points. A little bit softer defense than the Panthers. So
yeah,
there could be some value there, but I'm still not hyping him up as much as I was last week. So I'm knocking him down a peg.
I agree. We just spoke about Amari Cooper. Let's talk about Cooper Kupp. So I already kind of alluded to this when I was talking about the news. I'm not too worried about Cooper Kupp. I think Brandon Cooks being out actually hurt him. We were wrong about that. We thought he'd get a whole lot of work. Didn't really work out that way. But he also did play Pittsburgh and Chicago. Two good defenses, definitely not pushover defenses at all. He got 3 receptions on 3 targets for 53 yards this week. That's fine. He just didn't find the end zone. He didn't get that big play. The Rams really couldn't move the ball that much, to be honest with you. So I'm fine. I'm starting Cooper Kupp going forward if I have him.
Yeah, he played fine. Like you said, it's just against a good defense. He had a 50-yard reception. Like that should be a good week. But it is a good defense, and he didn't make it in the end zone. So
yeah,
to the downside, he also did have 2 fumbles.
that doesn't help.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah, wide receivers aren't running backs, so if they fumble, they don't get benched for 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. Kenny Golladay, we already kind of talked about it. I know Jeff Driscoll had an okay week, right? But I think Kenny Golladay is going to suffer while Matthew Stafford's not there. So, but I'm going to start. If I'm going to pick a wide receiver to start there, it's going to be Kenny Golladay.
Yeah.
And then last dud here, Allen Robinson. Ooh, I feel bad, man. I really like Allen Robinson. I was really hoping that this would be his like big comeback year, that he's going to be a number 1 receiver. It's just not really been the case. He's been okay, but he hasn't really like exploded.
Yeah, and I was really I tweeted out a picture that's one of the of like I think 6 or 7 autographed jerseys that I got that I'm looking to give away, and one of them was Allen Robinson jersey, but I need him to start performing to get some excitement up for that jersey.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so Allen Robinson, he had 4 receptions on 6 targets, so similar to Cooper Kupp with very few receptions, but he didn't catch every target, and he also didn't have a 50-yard play. So
only 15 yards, man.
Yeah.
Did you have any more players you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's good. Let me check my notes real quick. I moved a couple pages, but I think that was all of them.
Is that all?
That's all of those players. I got some waiver players to talk about though, so that is exciting.
That is exciting.
There's the first one I got here for waiver players, Barry. I've said it a couple times, and that's San Francisco's Deebo Samuel.
That's a good one. I agree with that one.
Yeah, he's not very. A lot of these guys I got here aren't owned in very many leagues. He's only owned in 25% of leagues, so he's probably available in your league. And I don't know how small your league has to be for him not to be startable. Like I feel like he is startable in almost any league.
I would say 10 and up, he's auto start. If you're in a below 10 team league, I would first try and get into 2 more players in your league so you can be in a 10 team league, and then just, I don't know, it depends on your lineup at that point.
Yeah,
it's roster dependent,
exactly. But he should be started on someone's roster.
Probably, yeah, probably. Yeah. I like Deebo Samuel a lot going forward, especially because they just lost
Sanders,
right?
Yeah. And Deebo's on back-to-back 100-yard receiving games with Sanders out. So, that looks good for him going forward if Sanders isn't playing, obviously. So he's a guy that even if you're like, we weren't big on Jimmy G having, his next few matchups, not great matchups, but just because he doesn't have a good game doesn't mean Deebo Samuel isn't going to have a big game.
Yeah.
Another guy. So these are some of these. I kind of want to discuss some of these because these are some that I've seen like a lot of waivers in for and talk about. Mm-hmm. Devontae Parker from Miami. So he's owned in 44% of leagues. Personally, I'm not happy. Like, I'm not going to go get him in most situations. Obviously, if I'm in like maybe a 12-man league, I may roster him.
Yeah.
Or higher, a 14-man league, definitely rostering him. But I'm not sold on him. Now, the argument for him here is that he's had 10 targets in 7 straight games, which is good. 10 fantasy points in each one of those games. But like, I don't know. Of course.
I feel like we've been down this road with Devontae Parker before. I think the person throwing in the ball, it's like a very volatile situation there in Miami. I guess there are situations where he should be started, right? There are team roster constructions where he should probably be started on a team, but I'm gonna avoid it personally as well.
Yeah, I would rather have Debo than him, and Debo's less owned.
Yeah, I'd probably rather have Debo as well. It's closer than you, but I would probably rather have Debo.
This next guy, we already spoke a little bit about him. Bunch of talk about him this week. That's Jonathan Williams, running back from the Colts. He's owned in 0.0% of leagues. So he is definitely available in your league. With Marlon Mack out, he should, he's going to see a significant increase in his role. But I mean, we already talked about this. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think I've kind of made it clear that I'm not expecting huge things for him. He's not one of those handcuffs or one of those waiver wires where a running back goes down and you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and everyone's hoping to get him. There's a reason why he was owned in 0.0% of leagues before this, because he's not the obvious guy if Mac goes down, so no one handcuffed him.
Right, exactly.
The next guy I got here is Sam Darnold. That's what I was just talking about. He's owned in 12% of leagues. He has a fantastic fantasy playoff matchup set. And just before that, it's not bad. So I like him going forward. So
I like him going forward. I like him next week, but I don't know if I'm going to blow a waiver priority on Sam Darnold.
No.
So just to caution everybody, I think Sam Darnold is somebody who's your second waiver on the week, or somebody you go pick up on Wednesday after waivers go through, so you don't blow your number one waiver priority.
Absolutely.
On Sam Darnold. But I do like him.
Yeah. So Bo Scarborough. He's the running back for the Lions. Also owned in 0.0% of leagues. But Detroit, they play roulette with their running backs. So
yeah,
they like to mix things up, and he had 14 carries this last week and a touchdown. So if you feel like playing roulette, you could go ahead and pick him up and see if you hit the lotto.
Yeah. I've got a couple guys here to throw in.
Okay.
My top one, and I can't remember if I brought him up on the show last week, but it's Jacob Hollister, tight end for Seattle.
Yes, I had him on my list as well.
I already advised my wife to go pick him up, but Will Disley went down, and we were all sad about that for a good reason. Will Disley was very good at fantasy, and we don't want people to get hurt. But Jacob Hollister is just picked up right from where Will Disley left off, and he's been really, really good. He's been finding the end zone. They've been going to him in clutch situations, and he's been delivering. Therefore, I believe that Seattle's going to keep giving him the ball because he's not letting them down in the most important situations. They might as well keep using him. So I really think that Jacob Hollister is a tight end one for rest of the season, as long as he doesn't get injured.
I think that you could basically plug him into right where Disley was, and you're going to get the similar output.
Yeah, I agree. Another guy I want to talk about, James Washington, wide receiver for Pittsburgh. With Juju out and Deontay Johnson, they're both questionable at this point. He is the number one wide receiver in Pittsburgh. I just wanted to throw him out there. I'm not expecting big things, but he's a high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2, should the other two guys miss. And then last guy I want to talk about, and I've already talked about him a little bit, so I'm going to mention it real quick, Randall Cobb, very high on my list. Go get Randall Cobb.
I have him on my list as well.
Right.
Owned in less than 30% of leagues.
Right. And then a quarterback streamer, other than the guys we've already mentioned, Derek Carr. It's disgusting, I know. I'm sorry. But Derek Carr against the Jets. I'm not scared of the Jets. Derek Carr has done it before. Derek Carr could go throw for 250 and 2 touchdowns, and hey, man, that could be a good week for a streamer.
Yeah, and also when you're talking about what's his name? Steelers. Wide receiver Johnson.
Yeah, or James Washington.
James Washington, yeah. Sorry. When you're talking about James Washington, they also play against the Bengals, and the Bengals love to give up fantasy points. So I'm not big on the Steelers' offense, but this week their offense should be just fine for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the last player you just said?
I mentioned Derek Carr as a streamer. And then for defensive streams this week, the Browns are playing Miami, the Lions are playing the team in Washington, and the Raiders are playing the Jets. Those are 3 defenses that I don't think anybody planned on starting. But hey, man, if you need a streaming defense this week, those are some bad teams they're playing.
Yeah, that's true. Also, speaking of defenses, Dee Ford is likely not playing for the 49ers, which I think does hurt them. He hasn't had a huge year, but he can be disruptful. So I think that hurts their defense a little bit. Not a huge blow, but a little bit. Man, this is a guy I don't even want to bring up, Perry. Darius Geis, running back for Washington.
Don't spread that, dude. He's burned you enough. Why do you can't burn the rest of us?
No, it's being talked about. So we gotta talk about it, like, because they're gonna hear that argument. They're gonna see him out there when they click on players to add. His name's gonna be there.
You know what else?
That's why we're here.
You know what else was talked about? The entire Browns offense.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, I led that charge against them, and I'm not advising anyone to go pick up Darius Geis, unless maybe if you have a dynasty league, sure. If he's out there, you could put him on your bench somewhere. Just because Adrian Peterson's the starting running back and he has to retire at some point.
Nuh-uh. Just ask Frank Gore. Frank Gore's not going to retire.
Yeah, I know. He's never leaving.
Frank Gore can retire when I die.
Yeah, poor Singletary. It's like, just go away. So I would not advise you guys to go get Geis, but you will see him if you click on your players. However your league setup, you click on your players and you're looking at the top ranked players. He's going to be up there. Don't fall for that trap. Like Perry said, I've been scorned by this man so many times.
You'd think he's TJ Yeldon.
I know. I've been burning pictures of him throwing all his stuff out on the lawn. And then I let him back in. I don't know why I do it.
That's weird. This got weird.
Oh, God. So another guy I want to talk about, you covered a bunch of the ones that I have on here because I liked a lot of them. This guy's only owned in 11% of leagues, and it's Chris Conley.
Oh.
So DJ Chark's been doing great there, but lately Conley's made a little resurgence there in the offense where he's actually looking like he could be valuable. I'm not really thinking about picking him up in any league just because he's inconsistent and the quarterback there situation has been changing, been fluid. So it's just too murky of a situation, and he's not one of the most talented players there. You have D.D. Westbrook's also there. I think I would rather have D.D. than him, so I'm just not gonna try and pick up the third wide receiver for Jaguars.
Yeah, I agree with that. DJ Chark though. Keep starting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I laughed because I remembered the Rum Boys doing the The chart.
Don't do it. No, the Run Boys did not do that.
And I was loving your reaction to that.
There will be no baby Chark sang on this show.
No, yeah, I won't do it. Mostly because I'm so bad at singing. No one will know I'm singing.
And I'll hang up this call right now, and there will be nothing recorded.
Yeah, then it's just awkward. One other tight end that I wanted to mention too.
Let me guess. Noah Fant.
It is.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, he's only owned in 13% of leagues. So he's probably available. He had his career high in targets this week with 11 targets. Double-digit targets for a tight end is fantastic. And he had 2 carries.
Yeah, I saw that. It was weird.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to read into that.
However Denver needs to lose, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and he's a good red zone target there because he's I love Sutton, but he's the more big body, red zone option there, your standard red zone option.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
I think he, like we said, tight end's a volatile position this year in the NFL for fantasy purposes, and he's just an option that you might want to keep an eye on if you're needing a tight end this week with bye weeks. Then you could consider throwing him in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think we're running long here.
Okay, yeah. Real quick, I'm just gonna also teams on a bye week. So you guys, just so everyone's tracking, you got your Cardinals, your Chiefs, your Chargers, and your Vikings. So obviously a lot of fantasy relevance with those players.
Yeah.
Or with those teams out. So some of those waivers you might be able to use just to stream for a week.
Yep, definitely. Streaming quarterbacks and defenses, it's like a standard way to win in fantasy football.
Yep. And you got some big wide receivers and running backs out this week due to those buys as well.
For sure. Cool.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm tired.
There's a lot of information, man.
Yeah.
I can feel the end of the regular fantasy season like creeping up, and I just get more and more tired. But then the playoffs hit, I'm ready to go.
Re-energized. Yeah, it's like a Red Bull, instant Red Bull to your vein.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that.
This is the time, management team, when people start to get worn out and start to make mistakes on the waiver wire, and it's where you need to take advantage of that.
Or just not paying attention to it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
So you could get some gold in there. So make sure, like, if you have waivers, like, you can put them in. These players we've talked about, a lot of people just aren't going to put in a waiver because they're just exhausted.
Right. All right. On that note, I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday when we'll have, is it Samuel on the show this week? No, it's his. Sorry, it's his and her fantasy football. So they're on Twitter. They write articles. You guys should go follow them. Great people to follow. Lots of good takes. So they'll be on the show on Friday, and I'm excited to have them.
All right. I look forward to that. Till then, peace out.